Ladies and gentlemen, your week 2 reaction episode, which means we're already in week 3, which is crazy. This season flies by. How do you react to week 2 without talking about the injuries? This is insanity, okay? Look, I'm going to keep this as upbeat and positive as I possibly can, but man, I'm just saying, I'm a 90s kid. I grew up where guys were, Ronnie Lott from the 49ers losing a finger in a guy's jersey and not even telling him and continuing playing the whole game. There were guys, they would hide injuries because, listen, and I'm not going to get into all that because I don't want anybody with like the CTE thing. I'm not doing that. It's shocking to me because I remember feeling this last season. I'm like, dude, what's going on? These injuries, we get so excited for the fantasy season to kick off, and then we're only in week 2, and some huge names that really affect fantasy, your picks, this and that moving forward. I mean, it's brutal. As an analyst, as a fantasy analyst, I'm supposed to say, "Oh, it's only week 2. We're only going into week 3. It's early in the season," but it's kind of not. Sure, you don't want to overreact, but you don't want to underreact, right? If that's even a thing to say, you don't want the injuries that are happening, and this is again. And this will be for another episode, but this is why I love Dynasty football, guys, is because some of you might be looking at it and going, man, my team's shot. Like, completely shot with these. And rightfully, I get it, right? But, at least with Dynasty, it's like, okay, well, I can think of next year. But even Dynasty, it's brutal right now. And that's another whole topic I'll get into. My biggest reactions were the injuries, the shocking horror show that looks like these rookie running backs right now so far through 2 games, except for 2 that I'm going to talk about because we got to keep it positive. But that, and then some of the records, the 0-2 teams and the 2-0 teams. Some teams I think should be 0-2 that are 2-0. Some teams, I don't think there's any 0-2 teams that should be 2-0, but come on, man. Kansas City, 0-2? What are we doing? Is that like, I don't know. But anyways, so real quick, obviously, first mega reaction was the Joe Burrow news. Brutal. It sucks. It sucks for the NFL, who, listen, apparently the NFL, I don't know if you knew this or not, they're not even registered as a sport. They're actually registered as an entertainment company, similar to like WWE, which don't get crazy in the comments. Oh, by the way, guys, but I'm new to this. Please, when you like, and I'm horrible at this too when I'm on YouTube, but please, when you watch the video, which I hope you do, hit the like and subscribe button. It's huge for the channel, and it has a chain reaction. We got to get this thing going, please, and thank you, guys. So hit like, the subscribe, and don't just do that. Make some comments, man. I'm a single dude. I'll try to get. I got nothing going on. This is it for me. I want to interact with the community and send some comments, ask me some questions. Let's get this thing going. Talk to me. I'm here. This isn't just a dude, a talking head on here that thinks I'm not a know-it-all. You got comments, you got questions, any advice, whatever, throw them in the comments, man. Ask your friends, have them come and hit me up on this. I'll be more than happy to respond to as many as I can get to. I love it. I want to build this, and let's go. So it's not just me. Talk to me. But yeah. So NFL, it's an entertainment company at the end of the day, and Joe Burrow is get your popcorn ready. Guy led the league last year in passing yards and touchdowns. Okay, it just sucks. It affects a lot in fantasy moving forward. Now, it is what it is. What do? A Cincinnati Bengals team who are 2-0, which they're a team that I think should be 0-2, but whatever. They're 2-0. A win is a win. However you get it done, you can't take that away. It's tough. But, you know, I'd love to see them trade for Kirk Cousins. He's under a mega contract. So if they could figure that out, but he'd fill in perfectly for a Burrow replacement as a pocket passer. He wasn't nearly as bad as people say he was last season. Remember, go watch the QB series again on Netflix. He was coming off an ACL injury. He couldn't, to start, he kind of like jumped right in. But to start, he couldn't really put any weight on his back plant leg. As he had some monster games. And then in the New Orleans game, I don't remember, but it was in the double-digit games. It was like week 10 or 12 or something like that. I don't even know if it was that, but Cam Jordan, I think it was, on the Saints, hit his elbow going in for a sack, and his arm, it just really affected him. And, you know, and prior to that, though, he had some monster games, and he'd be off. Kirk Cousins, hey, you want to leave being a bench QB in Atlanta and go to a team that's 2-0 that has Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and Chase Brown? I mean, I'm taking that. So hopefully, and he's awesome. You can't help but root for the guy. That would be amazing to see. Because Jake Browning, even though you won the game, you threw 3 picks in that game. This is shocking too in that game, right? This is a reaction episode. I'm just shooting off the hip here. But if you go back and watch that tape, Jacksonville was actually winning 14-7 when Burrow went out in that game. Then Browning goes and ends up throwing 3 picks throughout that game. And Cincinnati still beat Jacksonville. And I'll tell you why. Because for as much as I'm not big on Trevor Lawrence, I don't think he's that good. I said it last week. I was pretty passionate about it. Like, he's not a good QB. I don't think he is, but he's not the reason why they lost. His wide receivers let him down in that game. No joke. Jacksonville should be 2-0. De'Ami Brown, who I was kicking myself because last week when I was doing the breakdown, or the preview for week 2, when I was talking about Hunter, I was like, yeah, when I was saying, well, in the competitive game, which they did put him on Chase a little bit, I should have said, well, who fills in that spot, in that wide receiver 2 role, and it's De'Ami Brown. I meant to recommend picking him up, and I forgot, and then I played him in a cash game. I didn't win any money. I had him, I had St. Brown, and I had Jamar Chase in the cash game. Didn't even win $1. I'm done with those. I'm only doing like anytime touchdown parlays and this and that because I don't know what it is. I can't stand that when you have just monster players and you're getting excited as you're focused on your fantasy teams. You're like, I gotta be winning like at least $100 here, and you go and look, and then you started Justin Fields. My start of the week last week, which those Jets, that's a whole other story. But just to wrap up the whole thing with that game, with the Cincinnati Jacksonville game, Lawrence, your receivers let you down. De'Ami Brown, even though he had a good game and he caught a touchdown, he dropped. I don't know how he dropped that second one. Then Brian Thomas Jr., which we're going to talk about right now. Him and Trevor Lawrence, alert, emergency. I know it's only going into week 3, but this isn't their first year together. I kind of touched on it with BTJ. Those 2 dudes don't have a connection, guys, and it's alarming. And, you look at Jacksonville. Where's Jacksonville? I got Jacksonville's next 3 games. Home to Houston, okay? Hunter's going to be on offense. At San Francisco, probably Hunter a little more on defense. That could be a Brian Thomas, maybe, right? But that's definitely a De'Ami Brown game, that San Francisco game. And then at home to KC. So right now, you look at those 2 teams, the second 2 teams, San Francisco and KC. They're kind of banged up with their wide receivers. I'm Jacksonville. I'm 1-1. Should be 2-0. That comes down to coaching too. When Browning came in the game, right? Everything changes when it comes to Hunter. I'm gonna trust my defense. Jacksonville's defense is playing a little bit better, but I mean they got 3 interceptions, yada yada. But that coach, and I know he's a rookie coach, but you got to switch gears. Trust your defense without Hunter because he's more effective. You need him on offense, especially because your quarterback can't get in any rhythm with Brian Thomas Jr. and go put up points against Cincinnati, against Jake Browning, when they don't have a defense. But instead, with Jake Browning, they kept putting Hunter on defense and on Chase and all that. No, man. So moving forward, I hope they figure that out. But it sucks for Brian Thomas Jr. Okay? It's a fascinating thing. It was fascinating all offseason to monitor what was going to happen with this whole Travis Hunter two-way player thing because we hadn't really seen it. But to me, I just think, look, you're going home to Houston. Houston, we'll get to you later, okay? That team's a mess. They're not going anywhere. Hunter should play 90% offensive snaps in that game. Get something going, get back home, and get a win. And it's not like I'm just saying. I'm not a Brian Thomas Jr. hater. I'm just saying this isn't his first year. The coach, stop it with this. Don't get too crazy with it. If Burrow was out on I won't even get into that. Jake Brown's the quarterback. Get Hunter on freaking offense, okay? And they should have won that game. But nonetheless, Cincinnati 2-0. Should be 0-2. Let's just be real. But they have really great offensive weapons. Even though Chase Brown, who my MVP, looks like a complete bust call right now, but it's got to get better. It's got to get better, especially when whoever the quarterback's going to be moving forward, you're going to have to rely more on the run game, guys. You have to get that going. Anyways, so sucks that Burrow's gone. We'll move on to the next injury. So the next injury happens to be the Thursday night game, and that is Jayden Daniels. Guys, you know, if you own Jayden Daniels in fantasy, you love it, but you're terrified about it because he's so slender. His legs are toothpicks, man. He is like this in his jersey. It's just a straight freaking, side view profile. It's an L. Like the guy is he's so slender. So when that guy takes off and he's getting hit in the knee, and then he pops up on the injury report, he's got a serious knee sprain. Dude, we're on a team who, gosh, I'm so glad I'm not a Washington fan, but at the same time, I feel for every fan base because as a Lions fan, trust me, I've been through it as a fan of this team. It's awful. But what were Washington thinking? Not capitalizing on what happened last season. You got a stud. You struck gold in Jayden Daniels, who took you to the game, one game away from the Super Bowl. You're on a rookie contract with this guy. What have you done other than add in Laramie Tunsil, which is great, right? But other than that, Zach Ertz, who's balling out, but what is he, like 36? I get into this every time, but it's so eye-opening to me. It's like, why didn't you make more moves on offense, man? Why this team should have came into this season as after that. I'm sorry after all the moves, but with Jayden on a rookie contract, this team should have made enough moves. They should have been a favorite to win the NFC. But they're just, and now Jayden's dealing with an knee sprain. Eckler out for the season, torn ACL. My guy Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, please buy him if you still can, because this is the chance. He had less than 2 PPR points, but still get him. Eckler's out. He's going to get a lot of opportunity here. But you still have to monitor it because Jayden Daniels, which could be good for the run game, but if Jayden Daniels can't run, if his knee's going to act up a lot, and who do they have next? Washington's next, let's see, Washington. home to the Raiders, at Atlanta, at LAC Chargers. You know, the Raiders game, they could probably at home they could probably squeeze by with just him, taking it easy, sitting in the shotgun. I do think, again, I think McLaurin, and we'll have to monitor with Daniels. I think McLaurin is still a buy low because I think he's still going to get going. He's still not in game shape, but he doubled his fantasy points after week 1, went from 4.5 to 9.5, So, and then Debo again had a great fantasy day. But, what are we doing here with Washington? I just, they're frustrating. I don't want to recommend go crazy and go get Zach Ertz when at that age when his body he could get exhausted by week 4, and then you're sitting there and why did I trade for this guy? He's so old. It's tough, man. But it sucks nonetheless that with the knee, that's gonna, who knows the severity and how long that's gonna bother him moving forward. But that's huge. They got to figure something out. In that same game, real quick, Green Bay, again, they dealt with an injury. Jaden Reed, that sucks. I talked about it last week. He was the clear wide receiver 1 in that team. Moving forward, it's just going to be a bunch of dudes. If Romeo Doubs is on waivers, go grab him. But don't expect Jaden Reed numbers, wide receiver 1 numbers. They don't trust him. They didn't trust Jaden Reed as a wide receiver 1. They're not going to trust Dobbs as a wide receiver 1. But if you have Matthew Golden, who didn't have a single catch, they're using him on special teams as a rookie. If you have him, hold him for 1 more week. Because without Jaden Reed, clearly, I want to see what the game plan is. I want to see if they talk to him and throughout this week, and it shows that evidence that they got him going more and plays in practice throughout this week. He's a hold for me. If somebody drops him, which this is going to be the crazy thing with waivers. It's almost like I didn't even want to do anything about waivers until tomorrow, because I truly think it's more important and more crazy of what people are going to drop after all of these duds that we were high on going into the season, and after only 2 weeks we're want nothing to do with them. It's going to be crazy to see tomorrow morning the list of players that you're oh my gosh, that was dropped, but yeah, he's been struggling. So Golden probably going to get dropped. If you have him and you're watching this, I'd hold for 1 more week unless there's something crazy, or you hold him and you see at some of the players that are dropped that people are just done with, and some of them rightfully so. I cannot recommend TJ Hawkinson as a tight end right now, dude. What? That whole team. But Jordan Mason, Aaron Jones on the IR. Mason's my guy. Now, Jones, which I'm not clapping for Jones to be on the IR, not at all. They need him. It was actually surprising. It really surprised me. I would never root for an injury. Don't get me twisted. I'm just saying, I had said before, if with Jones' injury history, if he goes out again, Mason's going to go crazy. Now, defenses that go up against Minnesota with a Carson Wentz starting, they're going to probably box it up, and it's going to make it tougher on Mason. But, listen, if there's one coach that can get something out of Wentz, I mean, he's still at the end of the day an NFL QB right now. If there's one coach that can get something out of Wentz, that did it with Josh Dobbs and Nick Mullins and Sam Darnold, it's Kevin O'Connell at Minnesota. 2024 Coach of the Year. I mean, Wentz, he could get something going in that system, but either way, Mason's going to be a beast. But yeah, anyways, back to Green Bay real quick. Tucker Kraft, if you can get him, and the only way you're going to get him is if somebody took him as a tight end 2 on their team, and they got a sweet tight end in front of them. They got I don't know, Bowers is banged up, but he's still out there. But let's say they went Bowers and Kraft is, or McBride and Kraft, Laporta, Kraft, even though Laporta didn't have that great of a game. There might be a way where you're looking at a team that still, even though Kraft went crazy, still prefer, like, I'm only starting one tight end. I'm not going to bench McBride, and I have Kraft. And I could use, you're loaded at wide receiver, and he's loaded at tight end. I would go and freaking try to get Tucker Kraft, because that's the one thing. I don't know who's going to get the ball now that Reed's out, Watson's out, but as far as wide receivers, but you betcha it's going to be Tucker Kraft. Tucker Kraft, absolute breakout season upon us. Could end up as the tight end 1 overall. Wouldn't be surprised. He's going to be on an amazing team. Green Bay's defense, I don't play in leagues with defenses, but they have to be the number 1. I would be, and they number 1 moving forward. And then real quick with that, Josh Jacobs, 14 points, 14.9 points in back-to-back games. You'd think, right? The receiving core, the great defense stepping up, but they're really just using him as just an old school, up the middle, boom, and hopefully you get a touchdown. And I wonder, I don't know, man. I wonder what you could get for Jacobs, because people might look at it and go, oh, that, but at the end of the day, look at the points and what you think is going to happen. Jacobs is older now. I'm not saying to go sell him just to sell him. I'm just saying, like, it's a tough. He's either a hold for me or a sell high, because you're hoping, especially, it makes sense. Oh, okay, the receivers, this and that, Kraft, but you're hoping that he's going to get a couple touchdowns a game, right? And that could happen. Green Bay's next 3 games: at Cleveland, tough defense; at Dallas, can't wait for that, and then a bye, and then at home to Cincinnati. So he's going to get some touchdowns, but they're not using him in the passing game, and I don't know. That's a interesting one. I would go. It would depend on your roster. If you're pretty loaded at running back, go look at a team that's struggling at running back, or has got some underachievers going on, and see if they've got some pieces that you could sell high on that would just take your team to the next level. I would recommend that, because they're just using them to run up the middle. Anyways, real quick, I want to talk about the rookie running backs. It's been so shocking to me. Which ones that I think are alarming moving forward, and which ones I think, maybe it's just they're not getting the opportunities, and that things could change. You look at the top rated or the top ranked rookie running back, the one that was taken 6th overall in the actual NFL draft, Ashton Jeanty for the Raiders. I'm a little nervous here, okay? He came into last night's game, he was averaging 2.0 yards per carry. Ran 11 for 43 last night, no touchdowns or anything. But the problem with him is, if you go and watch the tape, if you didn't stay up late enough for that game, which I don't blame you, I freaking did, and I was beat at work all day. But if you go watch that tape, Geno, Jeanty, my man, you got to learn how to pass block. And a lot of that's between the ears. It's not even a talent or an ability. It's between the ears. You got to learn how to pass block, dude. You left your quarterback, who Geno didn't have a great game, but he was sacked 3 times. Jeanty, you were responsible for at least one of those, if not 2. You got to learn how to pass block. And then on top of that, he came out and he was like, they asked him, the reporter asked him, and he goes, yeah, I'm just still getting used to the speed of the NFL. You're supposed to be like this elite prospect, man. And I just wondered, like, did McCaffrey have that problem when he came out of school, Saquon Barkley, Bijan Robinson. I'm nervous. I'm a little nervous with Jonty. I am. And I'm like I said, I'm a dynasty guy. So I'm thinking, next year. I'm thinking future. I'm thinking like an NFL team with what they have with the guy. And another reason why I like dynasty, it just makes you think more of like fantasy. It's like you're managing a team, but redraft, it's like I'm just borrowing them real quick for this fall, and then I'm throwing them all back in, and then I'll borrow a different one next year. But with dynasty, you're like, so you're starting to think ahead, and obviously he was the clear 101 in rookie drafts, right? And those things are terrifying, because if you don't have that in you, and he's not like the biggest, he's stocky as hell, but you go watch some of the tape last night, and I know it's only a second game, but it's those things that you look for, man. And that was shocking. Hampton, here's the shocking part of him. He had a costly fumble at the end, even though the Chargers won and they were the better team for sure in that game. The Chargers were, and this is 2 games in a row, I don't even remember when Hampton even got his first carry of the game. Herbert's out there throwing bombs, which is great finally for Herbert, which has been like I think this is the sneakiest thing of the whole offseason. It's all of a sudden the Chargers are just throwing the ball nonstop. But Hampton, 3 PPR points. Things are going to get better for him, but it might not be till next year, because Najee Harris is there. You fumble at the end when it's close. He didn't see I know it was like last 2 drives, but he didn't see a touch after that. It was the Najee show. Najee's still there, guys. And I just, I'm going to pump the brakes on Hampton moving forward for this season. I think he's a dynasty buy low, because he's got the size and the speed and everything. It'll come together. But as far as the Chargers go, and as far as Herbert owners, I mean, you gotta be happy, because I've been out on Herbert. I think he's an awesome quarterback, but he's one of those guys where you use the narrative and you're like, he's a much better NFL than a fantasy one, because he's on a run first team and he doesn't really air it out much. That's not the case this season. Watch out for the Chargers, man, because Herbert, again, there's not many more accurate, better deep ball throwers. I mean, who are the Chargers got? They're one of the 2-0 teams. They have this week home to Denver. That's going to be a freaking hell of a game. Home to Denver. Denver coming off a loss in my favorite game so far of all the games I've seen, and that includes the Buffalo-Baltimore game. The Denver at Indy. Guys, you want to see a football game? First of all, I don't know if you have the NFL Premium Plus package. I have it. It's pretty cool. It's $14.99 a month, but you can go after and watch the condensed versions of all the games. Colorado, like Denver and Indy, not huge sports market areas, so you had to have some sort of streaming package if you live, like I live in Michigan. If you're not in the area to watch it. So, but if you have a chance, go and watch that game again. You want to see just a great, awesome football game where it had everything. Those 2 teams. Love both of those teams moving forward. Denver lost at Indy. And so the Chargers at home to Denver this weekend. Oh, that's going to be a hell of a game. And then the Chargers go to the Giants, and then they're home to Washington. So we could be looking at a 5-0 team, or we could be looking at, they lose to Denver, win at New York. Who knows what's going on with Daniels? Could come home and then beat Washington. We'll see. But as far as the running game goes, Najee is going to have a role. They're going to get it going a little bit more, but If Hampton's fumbling, and they got not a healthy Najee there, I mean, it might be a rough year for Hampton. Who else has struggled? I mean, Harvey's just not getting the ball enough. I don't know what's going on at Denver, but here's the good news. They didn't use him much, and they lost the game. Just saying. There is a positive there. I'm a Harvey guy. I love what I see out of him. I'm really excited about him and his career, but, you know, he's got to get on the field. He's got to get more touches. I think that could go, and I'm not taking it. I think Dobbins has looked great, but, you know, Dobbins has, I think he has 3 ACL tears or 3 knee surgeries, something like that. You know, and I'm not predicting anything with him, but I'm just saying, Harvey's somebody. Harvey might get dropped in redraft. He's somebody I would highly consider of the rookie run. He's somebody, because I don't think anybody's dropping Jonty or Hampton, but I do think there's a chance Harvey gets dropped, and I'd like to stash him because I think that better days are ahead for him as they move forward. And then, but on the flip side of that, Caleb Johnson, bro. I don't know if you guys saw it, the Pittsburgh-Seattle game. Seattle wins on the road, which was surprising, but Caleb Johnson was used in special teams. And was it a punt or a kick? It was either a punt or a kickoff. And the ball touches Caleb Johnson, touches his arm, goes in. So now it's a live ball. It's in the end zone and it's bobbling around, and the other team comes and gets it in the end zone, and Seattle gets a touchdown based off of it. I'm bringing that up because not only is that a huge mental blunder, and I know you're a rookie, but that's the stuff that he was already. Listen, it wasn't like he was the running back 1 coming in, or even after week 1, like just really impressed and shot up the depth chart. No, he was the running back 3 in last week, running back 3 this week, both games behind Jaylen Warren and then Kenneth Gainwell. And then he went and did that. Pittsburgh, who have went in an all-in approach with some of the offseason moves that they made with these guys and a lot of veterans, which, by the way, Jalen Ramsey looks great. I was a little bit confused with that, but he looks great for them, but they lost the game. Caleb is this isn't going to be the year, okay? People are going to drop him. If you want to stash him, it would only, to me, he would need an injury ahead of him. He's not earning himself. And not just that, but the reason Kenneth Gainwell, right before the season started, all of a sudden they're like, yeah, Gainwell's our running back too. And everybody was shocked, especially in Dynasty. We're like, what? Because Caleb went early. He was a mid to late first round pick in rookie drafts, you know? And it's not going to happen this year, guys. It's not. I because of those mistakes. Sure, most running backs, you're a running back in football. If you give someone a running back an open hole and there's no one in it, and you hand the ball off to them and they run it up the middle, most of them are going to look decent, right? Some more explosive than others, some a little bit more juice, but it's more than that. You gotta have it upstairs. And going in the offseason, you kept hearing, yeah, he sucks at pass blocking, he doesn't get it, this and that. But then to do that and to give up a touchdown, they were tied. I think they were tied at that point. Don't fact check me on that. I think they were tied at that point and he gave up that touchdown. Because they ended up losing by 2 touchdowns, I believe. But Caleb, man, that's brutal. I hope it gets better for you. You're a talented talented kid, but I don't think it's happening this season. So unless you have, real deep benches, yeah, I mean, if you have the deep bench, I'd probably stash him over like, a wide receiver 3 on a team or something like that, just in case. But I just don't see him moving up the depth chart anytime soon. And then, I'm trying to think of any other running backs that sucked that were rookies. But I will touch on 2 that were really surprisingly good. Sampson, and they're both on the same team. Sampson was good again, but here's the shocking one. Quinshon Judkins, who by far looked like the best running back from this rookie class this past Sunday at Baltimore. But here's the even more shocking part, right? The dude was away from the team the whole offseason. And we'll just leave it to a contract dispute. There was a lot more stuff going on with that guy. I don't need to get into that. But was away from the team the whole offseason. Only just came back last Thursday to a practice. Comes in and goes 10 for 61, and I think he caught three targets, something like that. But it was the eye test. He looked awesome. And he had no reps, no offseason. Guys, there's a lot to an offseason. He missed OTAs. He missed training camps. He missed preseason games. He missed all of those practices. And for him to come in that quickly against Baltimore and have that, go watch him. Go do the eye test. He's going to be a stud. And on top of it, Cleveland just came out today and they announced Judkins is going to be their RB1 on the depth chart. He's their RB1. And congratulations to the people in the dynasty community that took a chance on him when it looked like he might not even play a snap. Seriously, there were times throughout the summer where, and it was getting late in the summer, where it looked like he wasn't going to play football. This guy was going to not even have an NFL career. So if you got lucky and you bought low on Judkins and you have him, congrats. Congrats. Because, dude, that guy, and then Sampson, that 1-2 punch. Now, Cleveland, it's tough, man. You've had 2 tough teams, divisional games to start the season. Cincinnati, who should have won. And then Baltimore, which, Baltimore, they're a juggernaut on offense, man. But you did really well against Derrick Henry. You caused people to lose a lot of weeks if they were banking on Derrick Henry this week. What do you have, like 2 fantasy points, something like that? But Cleveland, with the running game, let's look. Cleveland's upcoming schedule. You ready for this? Where are they at? Next 3 games. Home to Green Bay. That might be a Sampson game. At Detroit, and then at home to Minnesota. So, I don't know. But I'm just saying, Judkins, if Judkins happened to be on waivers or Sampson gets dropped because Judkins was good, I love both of those 2 moving forward. Those are the only 2 rookie running backs. Unless I'm missing somebody, which I don't think I am. Oh, I am missing one. Tootin for Jacksonville. He is a must pick up. Must add. Especially with Jacksonville, who they have, who they got. Home to Houston, at San Francisco, home to KC. 2 out of 3 games, you're home. You're putting up points. Tootin, got to pick him up. Tootin's a strange one because the guy, a lot of fumbling issues in college. And then he comes in, Jacksonville takes him in the 4th round. Liam Cohen's first year, and Liam Cohen's the one that made Bucky Irvin go crazy last season. So everybody's like, ooh, who's going to be the Bucky Irvin in this Liam Cohen offense? Tootin's first snap in the offseason with Jacksonville, he fumbled the ball. it was like a practice or scrimmage or whatever it was. His very first snap as a Jacksonville Jaguar, and he fumbled the ball. So everybody's going, dude, this guy's way down the depth chart. He's right away, he's fumbling. Week 1 comes, Travis Etienne balls out. Tank Bigsby, after the game, gets sent to Philly. Tootin comes in, week 2, scores a touchdown, and he looks good. So Etienne is still the running back 1. But my biggest advice on these waivers, one is I'm really interested to see all of the crazy drops that happen. I'm more interested, like I said, to see what happens with the drops versus who's available right now. But 2, for me, when it comes to waivers right now and moving forward early, I want running back 2s on teams. With the injuries that happen, this and that, I want the running back 2s. Who you truly believe is the running back 2s on teams. I want them, especially on good offenses. And I want, if wide receiver 2s, especially on a good offense, if they're available out there, and I want, like, there's a rare situation like a Dyami Brown. Dyami Brown for me is a must-add on Jacksonville, because when they get, crazy with the whole Hunter thing, and Hunter's the guy that goes on defense, Dyami Brown is the guy that gets the wide receiver too. But Dyami Brown actually had a great offseason connection, surprisingly, with Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence was, you watched their preseason and their training camp, and Lawrence was hitting Brown in the end zone all the time. And then he just came off a 17-point PPR day, should have had more, should have had 20, at least 25, another touchdown, But Dyami Brown's somebody I would want. But yeah, for me, it's the running back 2s and wide receiver 2s or wide receiver 3s that could be 2s, that kind of thing. Those are the guys that I'm looking at and on good teams. Don't, a wide receiver 3 on a bad team, stay away. You know what I mean? Tight ends, see what they've got out there. But, you're going to be streaming. Tight ends are going to be okay. They're going to let you down. Unless you have one of the elites, which I love. That's why I love drafting an elite tight end in drafts these days, because I don't want to deal with this. But you can strike gold with a Tucker Kraft, and that could work to your advantage. But yeah, I don't need to get into all the games. I did that last week, but this is more of week 1's always crazy, because now you see when week 1 comes out, you kind of see, is that smoke screen that they're talking about? Week 2, now we've seen it twice, and there are some certain things, and you're just like, okay, how is this moving forward? One thing I do look at some of these 0-2 teams, right? Because I'm an NFL GM, like I just keep looking at Kansas City, and I'm going, and whether you're on the side, which I understand, I'm not there, but if you're one of those, like, screw Kansas City, like, they've had their fun, I don't want to see them get better, I'm not there, I respect them, but I also think too, they're kind of almost like that too big to fail type of deal. So I think as like a GM of KC, and I'm like, what are they gonna do, right? What's the move here? Because that current roster, I don't know if it's an 0-2 roster per se, but they don't have a running game at all. They can't get it done with Pacheco or Kareem Hunt, 2 guys that you're probably going to want to cut. And which I don't know. I'd have to see who you'd cut them for. But I wouldn't just cut them to cut them. You know what I mean? They're still on an offense. I still prefer Pacheco, but only slightly. But I look at that team, and when you're a good team and you want to get better, you're looking, that it's just like in Dynasty, you're going around the league and you're looking at the worst teams. You go, okay, you guys aren't going anywhere. So maybe you're thinking about next season. You have a piece on there that could maybe make us better. So I look at that team, and obviously, like I said last week, I go around the worst teams in football. Okay, New Orleans is the worst team in football, albeit they put up a fight against San Francisco. I'll give it to them, but still, they're the worst team in football. They're 0-2. They're not going anywhere. And you look at their team, and they have some pieces. Alvin Kamara, okay? Alvin Kamara, as steady as they come in PPR, he's still a great player. He still has it, and he's 30. Is he going to want to just rot out? I know he's on a huge contract, but I don't know. If I'm Kamara, I'm looking at it and going, okay, I got 1 or 2 years left here. Do I want to spend it in a team that obviously we're not going to the playoffs? We're not going to the playoffs this year. We don't have a QB, and we're not making it next year. You got to start thinking about your own football legacy. Do I want a chance at trying to win a ring here? Kamara to Kansas City would be awesome. He would be so much better than what they have there right now. Then I look at other pieces that would help Kansas City from that team. I'm not like Olave, no, because you're already in week 3. You got 3 more weeks with Rashee Rice. Rashee Rice is fine. You don't want to go and pay a lot for a guy that Rashee Rice is better than when he gets back in 3 weeks, which Rashee Rice is better than Olave. Olave's a good player, but he's a concussion away from never playing football again. I think he's at 7. But the guy that is interesting is Rashid Shaheed, right? So it's unfortunate for him because Rashid Shaheed's a really underrated wide receiver, and he's a burner. Last season, he actually was better than Olave starting the season. When they were both on the field, he had better numbers. He actually kind of looked better. And I like a lot. He's a good player. I just don't want him in fantasy. He's on a bad team, and he's a health risk. But Shaheed, that would be an interesting one. So Kansas City calls him up and says, we'll take Kamara and Shaheed, and we'll send you, Pacheco and I don't know what it would cost. But I was just putting the thinking cap on there. Obviously, you move to another bad team for Kansas City, Miami, Tyreek Hill, who had a nice bounce back, 18 fantasy points this week for Miami in a shootout with New England. Obviously, that's the one. They have history there. That would be a great reconnection for him. But the ins and outs of that, I don't know. And then you look at, here's Chicago, 0-2. Now, Chicago is a strange one because they're loaded with talent, even though I just think Caleb Williams, oh man, he's just in it for himself. Prove me otherwise, dude. You just care about you. You care about your own personal goals, and I just don't get it. But I will say for a positive with Caleb, because I do try to find a positive in all of this, he's locked in with Rome Odunze, man. Rome Odunze, breakout season, baby. And Rome Odunze, he looks awesome out there. He looked good in week 1. He had 15.5 PPR points, and he had 33 this past week. Caleb, lock in, which means that DJ Moore. Now, DJ Moore for Kansas City, I don't like so much because, again, it's, the Rashee Rice thing. But when you think of Kansas City, you want to, and myself included, you want to go, all right, man, we just want that burner, which Tyreek isn't. He's not just a burner. Tyreek is great at cutting, even now at 31. Tyreek, obviously, he's not just, he can do it all. Tyreek last season was voted as the best player in football by all of the players going into the 2024 season, or even, I think it was either before or after. No, before. So the guy's only 1 year removed of being voted as the best player in football. He's awesome. But DJ Moore, is a good player. He's just a little too similar to Rashee Rice. It could still work because, Mahomes, who kind of sucked the other day. Granted, it's a mess, and Kelsey's old and this and that, but he's trying to get it done, and he's getting it done with his legs, but he needs some weapons, and DJ Moore would be better than everything else they have besides Rashee Rice right now. I don't know if they want to go that route, but who else? Who's on another bad team that has a weapon? I don't even know. I think that's really kind of it. If Kansas City wanted to go to a good team that has a surplus of players, look at the Colts. They have that Alec Pierce. But the Colts are 2-0 right now. I don't think, and Pierce, now, you know what? Scratch that. But maybe A.D. Mitchell, if they don't get a lot out of him. I know he's only in his second year, but because they already have Pittman and Downs, Pierce, Mitchell. Could be something, I don't know. But I look at them and I think it's a little interesting. DJ Moore for Chicago is very interesting when it comes to trade talks to one of these teams, because he's a buy low for me, because you're Chicago, you're 0-2, and you drafted Luther Burden early, right? You put the capital in, and he is somebody that absolutely can play the DJ Moore role, and I like Burden. 2 years ago in college, he was going to be the locked and loaded, possibly number one wide receiver taken, top 10 pick, and then he had an off season, but he didn't have a quarterback throwing to him his senior season. I don't even know if he was a senior, it's just his last season, but he could fill in that role almost seamlessly. He's not as good as DJ Moore, but eventually he might be. It might even be better. So there's a list of guys I could see DJ Moore go to. I could see him go to Baltimore. I could see him go to Green Bay. I could see him go to Buffalo. I could see him go to Arizona, San Francisco, the Jets, Pittsburgh, Seattle, Denver, New England, Atlanta. I could see him as a fit for all of those teams. I think Pittsburgh would be crazy good for him. I think Arizona is no, you know what? No. I'm going to touch on something with Arizona. That's another reaction I had real quick. And then the Jets, dude, you killed me. What was that in that game? Oh my gosh, you let me. I know it was Buffalo. Buffalo didn't have Ed Oliver. You made me look like a fool with my hot takes with you, and the +6.5, and it was brutal. Fields is now in the concussion protocol. He's another one that's hurt. McCarthy's out for up to 4 weeks. Aaron Jones is surprisingly just got put on the IR, which means it's Jordan Mason's season, which I'm not excited that Jones is gone, but for fantasy purposes, I've been pounding the table for Mason. Now it's clearly his, okay? And they're going to need him because they're going to be rolling out Carson Wentz, who, sorry, man, McCarthy, I love you, but Wentz, you probably can't be much worse than McCarthy, who 7 out of his first 8 quarters of his career, he has looked diabolical. I hope he pulls it together. I really do. I'm bummed that he's hurt because that guy needs reps. Okay, Minnesota, your next 3 games at home to Cincinnati, no defense. This would have been a great game for McCarthy to get reps and get some confidence. And this is the last game without Jordan Addison, who comes back next week, right? So then you're at Cleveland. That's a tough one. And then you have a bye, and then you're home to Philly. So we could probably expect McCarthy in that game at home to Philly. That's not an easy game, right? Jordan Mason, in all of those games leading up to that, he's going to be a monster. But the Jets, back to the Jets with that injury, with Fields, I was really excited about what I saw with the Jets after week 1. And that was just, and hats off to Buffalo. Hats off to Buffalo, man. Like they crushed them. Josh Allen had 11 points, didn't even have to do it, and they stomped them. Which, by the way, Buffalo, if you look at their schedule, next 3 games, all home games. Miami this Thursday, New Orleans, and New England. So you're looking at a 5-0 team. How is that not a 5-0 team? You're not losing to Miami, you're not losing to New Orleans, and you're not losing to New England. All 3 games at home in a row. They're the only team of all 32 teams that have the next 3 games at home. So 5-0 Buffalo. Hey, now that's when it gets even more. Buffalo Bills, McDermott, who's the GM? Brandon Beane, I think, something like that. Guys, make some moves before the deadline. Get that team bolstered. Get that team better, because I am so in on James Cook and Josh Allen moving forward. Keon Coleman, I thought after week 1, I wasn't chasing the points. I was like, okay, we've unlocked something here. I think something's going here. And that he kind of threw up a dud when they blew him out. Like, Buffalo needs defense, and they need a stud alpha wide receiver 1 on that team. DJ Moore would be it. All right, maybe, who knows? Like Khalil Shakir, guys, you can't play him. You can't play him in fantasy, especially because they're getting both tight ends going. Shakir is when I said earlier I was going to touch on Arizona real quick, think about this, okay? When you have guys that are mobile, that can get away and sprint away from the pass rush coming to you and kick out to the side and wait for a play, they're already there. So they're looking up and they're going, somebody better be up there. I've already beat all that. I'm already out and past all of this pass rush. So now I'm looking for somebody that's been bolting while I've been doing this, and I can hit him on a freaking dot, right? Well, Shakir's never going to be that guy. He's not. They're trying to get it with Palmer. Palmer's he's as good as he is, but he's not like a Pro Bowl type wide receiver, right? And I'm not saying that DJ Moore is a burner like that. Like, would I love to see Tyreek Hill freaking go with Josh Allen? Of course, that would be amazing. I don't think it's gonna happen, but that would be awesome. But I want Buffalo, especially if you're 5-0. Please, guys, figure it out. Restructure contracts. Get this team some stars on bad teams. Don't just let the Kansas Cities go and do these deals. I don't care. Philadelphia, hats off to their GM, Howie Roseman. Best GM in sports, in my opinion. This dude has arguably the best team in football, and yet he is on the phone. This guy doesn't sleep. He's on the phone with every freaking player that you want to part. He's always trying to get the team better. He made a Godfather offer for Micah Parsons. The only reason Dallas turned it down was because they didn't want to give him to the division. I mean, who does that, right? Giants? When you traded Barkley, Jerry Jones wasn't doing that, right? He didn't want to go and give that Parsons. It was a great offer. But what I'm saying is, can you imagine the Eagles, who already were the best team, they were going in and they're trying to get Parsons on top because you got to get better. Always make those calls. It's like dynasty teams, man. Every league that I go in, it's like you'll see a team and they have no chance at winning, and then all of a sudden, but they have Derrick Henry on their team, and you're like, and you go to hit them up, you're like, hey, I'm a contender. Can I get Derrick Henry? No, he's my only good player. You can't be like one of these NFL. That's the same thing in NFL. Miami or New Orleans or these bad teams that aren't doing it this year. They don't have a chance. Don't be stingy. Think of your future. You got a top weapon, and these contenders need to go and get them. Say, hey, we're trying to win right now. Let me go and get freaking Alvin Kamara. Not for Buffalo, but I'm saying for like Kamara should not be on the Saints, dude. You're 30 plus. What are you doing at the Saints? There are certain players that are on these teams that it's like, no, man, let's figure this out. Buffalo, I want you to get better pieces, sexy pieces. You're good enough. You got the reigning MVP, who, I don't know. I was locked in after week 1 thinking this guy was the MVP. I don't know. Lamar, man. Lamar is beast mode. So, anyways, I pray for any other takes real quick. We had, let me see, great bounce back for Detroit, unbelievable. People talk about too many mouths to feed, but isn't it nice when all of them get fed? Except for Laporta, but he had a good week 1. St. Brown, back-to-back weeks but this week particularly, he was just on a different level. He is absolutely outstanding. J-Mo, amazing. Gibbs and Montgomery. I mean, it was just, and Goff was unbelievable. And obviously that's my team. But great to see the bounce back. 50, 51, 52, unbelievable. And I'll skim through these. Carolina, Arizona. I notice anything? The next one was Buffalo, the Jets. James Cook, and then I just wrote Buffalo needs a receiver and possibly buy low on Breece Hall. Carolina, Arizona. Listen, man, it's not going to happen with Marvin Harrison Jr. I'm telling you this. So, just like I was talking about with Josh Allen, he's so fast and he gets out there. Kyler Murray's faster, okay? Kyler Murray is one of the fastest players. I'd love to see him in a test of how quick it gets. It's probably got to be Lamar for sure, but how quick he gets when the rush, and he's already out on the wing, and then he's looking up. Well, he's got an arm. He's looking. Marvin isn't fast enough to beat that coverage. You always want to, you think in the time machine aspect of last year's draft because it was so awesome. That top 10, those top 10 picks. And obviously Chicago got it wrong. If they could go back and they say, with the number 1 overall pick, they take Jaden Daniels all day, every day. The GM probably loses sleep still, especially when this team is again 0-2 and you're like, where are we going? Is this the guy? And meanwhile, Jaden is Jaden. But it's not just that. The scouting team for Arizona, with what they had in Kyler Murray, when you look at how quick Kyler Murray is and how good of an arm he is and how quick he can get out there and he needs a burner, Malik Neighbors was the guy, not Marv. Marv can't separate, dude, and it doesn't work. So when Kyler's there and he's looking and he doesn't have that burner, you're like, all right, McBride, right? And that's, so Marv, I'm sorry, man. It's not going to happen. Arizona's next 3 games at San Francisco. It's going to be a tough game, good defense. Then home to Seattle and home to Tennessee. So you think, okay, those are points games for Marvin Harrison Jr. I'm not going to get rid of him, but why isn't it happening? Why isn't that connection there? And it's because it doesn't match with how Kyler is. Marvin and Kyler don't match. If Marv can't separate, you already got that same guy that's running over kind of in the similar area of the field in McBride. McBride's not drawing the number 1 corner in terms of defense. McBride's got a different matchup and he's a bigger dude and it's a shame, when you see what Neighbors can do and how he can separate. It would have been awesome to see Neighbors on this team. on the Cardinals. I don't find them as a contender, even though they're 2-0. I think it's a shaky 2-0. Again, New Orleans, Carolina doesn't get better than that. Having said that, at San Francisco, Mac Jones, Brock Purdy, Kittle, they're both out. This and that. Wide receiver core is a little banged up. But they could, then at home to Seattle, home to Tennessee, they could win those 3 games. I don't see it, but they could win those 3 games. We could be sitting here talking about another team, 5-0. Where do they go? Tyreek Hill on Arizona with the way Kyler Murray plays. I don't know, man. But Marv, I just don't see that marriage working out. It doesn't. Their play sets, they just don't match up. So I would sell high on Marv because of the name still, if you could. And then, I still like. McMillan had a nice breakout game, but he needs touchdowns. They will come. I like McMillan. I like Chuba, and I'm still buying Trey Benson. We're going to fly through these. New York Giants at Dallas. Dak is still going to be good. Javonte, 45 PPR points after 2 weeks. You love that, but I don't know. He's still scares me. Lamb and Pickens, it was nice to see them both, but they're not playing at home to the Giants every week. Dallas's defense is shaky. They just gave up that monster 430 yards to Russell Wilson. So their defense is shaky, which bodes well for the fantasy side. Dallas's next 3 games, you got at Chicago, home to Green Bay, and at the Jets. All 3 of those games are going to be interesting. Could Chicago upset Dallas next week? Sure, if it all comes together. Because I hate that Dallas's defense now, but we'll see. Lamb, Pickens, and Javonte and Dak. It's going to be just them moving forward. You can decide what you want to do. I'm okay with holding them. I'm okay with selling high on them. I'm only interested in buying CeeDee Lamb if I can get value on him. And then Neighbors. Okay, Neighbors, look. Just hold him. I don't know. I don't want to get crazy with Neighbors, but my thing with him is it just freaks me out again because, okay, Giants schedule, home to KC. Are Kansas City really gonna go 0-3 against the freaking Giants, even though it's on the road? I don't see it. That would be crazy though. Then they're home to the Chargers, who could be 3-0 by then. Are they gonna lose to are they gonna beat the Chargers? I don't think so. And then at New Orleans. That's not even a lock. Is there a chance this team is 0-5? Absolutely there is. And so once that happens, if you're 0-5, I don't know. I think Neighbors all depends on if you're 2-0 and you have him, obviously he's a hold, but unless you're loaded, and then you're like, but I'm missing a piece here, I'm gonna go and sell high. He's either a hold or a sell high, but every week pay attention to him because his value, don't just lock him in for the season. I don't care who you are, just play the market with him. I mean it, because he's so dependent on the Giants. Now, granted, I mentioned Wan'Dale Robinson. It was nice. He had a monster game. If they can get him going to relieve some pressure, I still don't see the Giants winning many games, but that does help Neighbors. It just makes me nervous. It does. No running game. I mean, Scatterboo was better, but it's tough. It's tough. If you have him and you're 2-0 after that monster performance, I can't imagine you sitting there taking me seriously thinking about selling him. But I just I think that I just don't know how I see this team going forward. And they're 0-2, you know. And again, and it's because it's like you can cash out and just get a ton. It's like I'd be set if I cash out right now. I kind of look at it like that. Versus, man, it could go. He's used so much, guys, and it's not just like over the middle. It's full on double coverage, all sprinting at him, diving at him. Like he's just he freaks me out. And then let's go. You know what? I've already gone on and on and on here. Real quick, I wanna say something crazy here. Brandon Aubrey, the kicker for Dallas. Dude, this guy has outscored. You ready for this? These busts so far. He's outscored, and this is combined weeks 1 through 2. Their kicker, Chase Brown, my MVP. He's outscored him, Drake London, RJ Harvey, Braylon Allen, AJ Brown, DJ Moore, Breece Hall, TJ Hawkinson, Nico Collins. No, he hasn't. No, Nico, take him off. Devontae Smith, Marvin Harrison Jr., Stephon Diggs, Trevion Henderson, Terry McLaurin, Jerry Jeudy, Matthew Golden, Travis Kelce, Cooper Kupp, T. Higgins, Brian Thomas Jr., Travis Hunter, Calvin Ridley. Those are some guys that kicker has outscored after just 2 weeks. Dude, I don't know. It's crazy. So yeah, real quick, I'm selling Brian Thomas Jr. I'm buying low on Derrick Henry after that performance, if you're a contender for sure. And pick up that Troy Franklin for Denver, man. He's something. Buy low on Cortland Sutton. I love Denver moving forward. I truly do. Basically, we can wrap that up. Yeah, we can wrap it up. I went on long enough, but I'm really looking forward to doing the week 3 preview. Already in week 3, again, it's like the season just flies by. We say that it's a long season, but it's really not. And don't panic just yet with the 0-2 start, but look at why you're 0-2. If you're 0-2, but your points for are like I'm 0-2 in one of these leagues, but my points for are second or third in the league. It's just I went up against the 2 highest points week 1 and 2. That's different. If you're 0-2 and you're like the bottom of points for, you got to make some moves. So I'm here to help. Again, hit me up in the comments, like, subscribe. Ask me trade questions. I got you. Okay, send me your roster, text me your roster, whatever it is, and I'll see where your glaring needs are at. Okay, and if it's injury proven, well, you might still have a piece that you can flop, and it might not be a name you want to get rid of per se. But again, one name's not gonna win you or lose you. You need to capitalize. Spread it out. You have more than one roster spot. Okay, so. I'm with you guys. I'm ready. Let's go week 3. All right. Thank you.